All right, today we are cracking the code on one of the most mysterious, most bizarre parts of our lives, our dreams. And we're going right to the source, Sigmund Freud's absolutely revolutionary book, The Interpretation of Dreams. You know the feeling, right? You wake up, your heart's pounding, and you've just had a dream where you're, flying over your high school, but your teeth are falling out and your boss is there dressed as a pirate. It feels like pure random nonsense. But what if it's not?
So Freud had this amazing analogy. He said a dream is like a rebus. You know, one of those picture puzzles, where an image of an eye, a heart, and a sheep means I love you. You don't look at a rebus and say, wow, what a weird drawing. You try to decipher it. Freud argued that for centuries we've been making that exact mistake with our dreams, judging the jumbled pictures instead of reading the coded message.
And that is our first big idea, looking at a dream not as junk, but as a mysterious puzzle box. So let's unpack just how radical this idea really was.
Think about it. The standard view, then and now, is that dreams are basically just the brain taking out the trash at night. You know, random neurons firing, cleaning up the clutter from the day. They're jumbled, they're disconnected, and at the end of the day, they're meaningless.
Well, here's where Freud completely flips the script. He says no, dreams are the exact opposite of random. He argues that they are these incredibly detailed, highly structured psychological creations. And this is the key. Every single strange detail, every weird plot twist, it's all there for a reason.
Okay, so if every dream is a meaningful puzzle, then what's the solution? If it's a code, what's the secret message it's trying to send? This brings us to the very heart of Freud's theory, where he gives a surprisingly simple and pretty bold answer.
So first, you got to understand that for Freud, every dream has two layers. The first layer is what he called the manifest content. This is the surface level stuff. It's the bizarre movie you remember when you wake up, the flying, the pirate boss, all of it. It's the picture puzzle itself.
But hiding right underneath that is the second, deeper layer, the latent content. This is the good stuff. This is the hidden meaning, the unconscious thoughts, the buried memories, and most important of all, the secret desires that are actually powering the whole dream. This is what the puzzle is really about.
Let's break it down real simple. The manifest content is what the dream seems to be about. The latent content is what it's really about. One is the puzzle, the other is the solution, and most importantly, one is the disguise, and the other is the hidden wish. And this brings us to Freud's single most famous and maybe most controversial claim. Every single dream, he says, no matter how strange, no matter how scary, is ultimately the fulfillment of a wish. The engine driving the whole thing, its entire motive for existing, is an unconscious wish trying to come true.
Right, I know what you're thinking. That's a huge claim. How does a deep, secret wish get turned into that weird movie you remember? Well, this transformation happens through a process Freud called the dream work.
You can think of the dream work as having a whole disguise kit. It's got a bunch of tools, but there are two primary gadgets it uses to twist that hidden wish into something you won't recognize: condensation and displacement.
So first up is condensation. This is like psychic data compression. The dream takes a whole bunch of different ideas, memories, worries, even different people, and crams them all into one single image or character. It's why one person in your dream can feel like they represent so many things at once.
A perfect example is one of Freud's own dreams, the famous Irma dream. The character of Irma in his dream, it turns out, wasn't just his patient Irma. When he analyzed it, he realized she was a combination of his patient, one of her friends, his own wife, his daughter, and even another patient who had passed away. That's 5 different people all condensed into one dream character.
The second major tool is displacement. This is the real sneaky one. This is where the dream takes all the powerful emotion attached to something that really matters to you and shifts it onto something completely trivial and unimportant. This is why our dreams often feel so random and obsessed with meaningless details.
As Freud points out, it's a weird fact of life that we rarely dream about the biggest events of our day. Instead, our dreams are filled with what he calls the most worthless fragments of what we experienced. Why? Because those tiny, unimportant details are safe. They're neutral. They're the perfect place for the dream to hang all the intense feelings from the real, hidden wish without setting off any alarms.
But of course, this whole elaborate process of disguising and shifting things around begs a massive question. Why? Why all the secrecy? If your mind just wants to fulfill a wish, why does it need this whole elaborate disguise kit to do it?
Well, Freud's answer was pretty ingenious. He said, our minds are basically a battlefield between two competing forces. On one side, you have the unconscious force that creates the wish, and these wishes are often primitive, forbidden, or socially unacceptable. And on the other side, you have this powerful psychic guard he called the censor.
The censor's main job is simple: protect your sleep. If these raw, powerful, and often disturbing wishes from your unconscious just burst through into your mind undisguised, they'd shock you, they'd horrify you, and they'd wake you right up. So the dream work is a compromise. The censor basically says, okay, you can have your wish, but only if you disguise it so well with condensation and displacement that the sleeper has no idea what's really going on.
So, after all this, these puzzles, these secret wishes, these censors, what's the bottom line? Why should we even bother trying to decode these nightly messages? What does it all mean for us?
This right here is probably Freud's most famous statement on the whole topic, and it's our ultimate takeaway. He said, the interpretation of dreams is the via regia, that's Latin for the royal road, to a knowledge of the unconscious.
And that's why this was so important to him. It's not just about solving a fun puzzle or telling a weird story at breakfast. For Freud, the dream is a direct, though heavily encrypted, line to the most hidden, most influential parts of who we are. By learning to read our dreams, we're basically learning to read the blueprint of our own unconscious minds.
Which really leaves us with a fascinating and maybe a little bit of a chilling final thought. If every strange picture puzzle our mind cooks up for us each night really is the disguised fulfillment of a wish, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the deep, hidden wishes that are really driving you?